Hi, Mr. Dean. How are you?
I'm good, James. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm happy we finally got around to doing this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know how bottom of the barrel you are, but I guess we'll see what happens.
I saw when you told me that, I was like, no. I mean, I'm reaching out to the right people, so I don't second guess that. How are you doing?
We're doing well, doing well. It's everybody likes to get all amped up for football season, but it's like the spring is actually pure chaos. It's like basketball's full go, baseball starts today, softball's going, so we're just
Everything.
kind of keeps us all kind of on our toes. Kind of crazy bit of time for sure.
I would agree. Also, do you mind if I record just so
No, no worries. I got no problem.
okay, awesome. I'll would you like me to give you a little briefing on what's going on? I feel like I'm blindsiding you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Just keep me pointed in the right direction.
All right, I'll give you like the sales pitch. Um,
Okay.
so this is the Meeting Our Mountaineers podcast, which we started after forming the Sport Management Alumni Network. So that we formed a little over a year ago, which myself and a few students uh, had some alumni reach out to professors and be like, we feel like there's a disconnect with alumni and students, whether that was from COVID or before, whatever it was. And we're like, let's do something about it. So we created an Instagram and a Facebook. And it was doing okay, but we still felt like we weren't reaching the audience of like students. So we formed this podcast, which we post in full, but we cut up clips and post them because my Gen Z and younger people can only watch 30 seconds if we're being
Understand.
honest. So that way they can reach it, but there's a lot of forms of engagement for everyone involved, and it's just a way that we can have students and alumni like yourself come back and connect, so it's not so scarce kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, this is very conversation based, which I just think is the right way to do it. But I'm curious about your background and where you're from, because are you from Alabama? I mean, I know you went to West Virginia for your
Yeah, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. So
okay.
Alabama's home for me. I did my 4 years of undergrad at a small liberal arts college in Birmingham. It's called Birmingham Southern College.
Mm.
At the time I went there, they were making the transition from an NAIA school to a D1 school, and I'd kind of local school. That's where I kind of wanted to go to school, be a part of the university. I'd gone to like baseball camps my entire life there, and so was like a huge fan of their baseball program. And in high school, it's where I kind of wanted to go. There's not a whole lot of space for a singles hitting first baseman at the college level. So I knew I wasn't going to do that, but I love sports and being a part of it. And like a lot of things, you got an overzealous parent, dad. He calls up there and says, "Hey, you got any like trainer spots?" And just to try and find something. And the baseball coach was like, "Well, we have manager positions." And I didn't know what that was. So it was like, so I had the opportunity to go and be a manager with their baseball team for 4 years and kind of get exposed to like college athletics and be a part of that. And then kind of going into my senior year, I was like, I thought I was going to be I was going to be a history major. Thought I was going to go maybe down the education path, maybe coach baseball in high school, and like I discovered this thing called sport management existed. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know that was a thing. Like that was a possibility. Like it's real. Like this is something that people do. And so like I just started looking up programs and looking up things to learn. And the sports information director at Birmingham Southern was a graduate of the sport management program. And so he told me about it and like gave me some insight, his time there, what he learned. And so like that's how I found out about it. And so like in the process, and like seemed like a great idea, seemed like a good opportunity. I don't know if it was a smart decision or a dumb decision yet. Like I kind of made the decision to go sight unseen. I'd never been in that neck of the woods, never been to Morgantown, but I was like, I liked the way the program was set up. I liked what the classes looked at. Like I liked how it was kind of intertwined in. in the athletic department. And so like, part
Mhm.
of it having to do the internship and, maybe I could do that. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so, like, that's just kind of how my background to finding the program was, sports information director at Birmingham Southern College telling me about it and go get the opportunity. And, I guess that's just where it started.
That's awesome though, and it's refreshing to hear that you almost like didn't know what you were gonna do because I think a lot of us can relate to that, especially myself. I mean, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but even you were like, I was kind of just figuring it out along the way. And I noticed when you were at Birmingham Southern, I only could do so much research on you, by the way, Mr. Dean. I was looking up and I couldn't find anything.
I
But
intentionally keep it that way. It's the
okay,
best that if they don't know who I am, that's usually a good solid thing. Yes.
okay. So I did what I could with your LinkedIn, but I noticed you were really involved in your undergrad, though. You did a lot of like extracurriculars and involvement outside of that. Was that you trying to find like a niche kind of thing that you enjoyed?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm not, my family, my wife will tell you, I'm not the like most personal individual. Like I'm a very introverted person, and
Yeah.
so like it is a bit of a struggle in this profession. I'm not the stereotypical like fundraiser on the path to being an AD kind of guy. I'm a behind the scenes person. That's just how I've always been and just kind of where I fit in. But it's one of those things where like it's a Birmingham Southern was a special place. And so it's a smaller university. At the time that we were there, we were like the fourth smallest D1 school in the country. Like
Wow.
it's basically like Wofford, Tulsa, and us were kind of like just there, fighting it out in the old Big South Conference. And so, but small population of students, you try to get active in different things and be involved in, some of it's by default, some of it's like I'm not going to make friends on my own, I got to figure out how to do it some other way too. And so I think it's one of those trying to find a well-rounded base to do different things. I think it kind of creates the opportunity for maybe you put something on a resume that would jump out to somebody, and you
Mhm.
create those relationships that can last you down the road for as long as you need. So I think that was part of the driving factor of it is that just by default it's like I got to figure something out, got to do something. I always say people that come and do internships with us, like you may love compliance, you may love athletics, but you also might find out you don't want to do this, and that's okay too. And so I think that's part of figuring out what you want to do in life.
I understand. I think that's great advice. Like you said, even if you do it and it doesn't end up working out, it's still a great experience, and you're not going to know until you try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, I got the opportunity heading into my senior year to work in the athletic department and kind of touch a bunch of different areas, from helping the person in charge of compliance who also had to do academics because you just don't have the manpower
Mhm.
at a small school, to helping with them, helping a little bit with marketing and game day, and helping our sports information department with some research to try and figure out what particular area I like. With the baseball program, like I did a whole bunch with them, learning game day operations and equipment stuff that you just had to, they needed bodies to help, and it's just jumping in anywhere you can. Doesn't matter what your title is, doesn't matter what you are, you're just trying to help whatever entity that you're working with succeed. So I mean, I think that's where it helped me to kind of develop where I'm going.
No doubt, no doubt. I noticed you've been in compliance for quite some time too. It seems like once you found it though, you knew, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, for me, like I enjoy the behind the scenes stuff. That's kind of where I find my natural personality rests, and it's my way to make a difference, I think. It was a little bit of how I could get my foot in the door too,
Yeah.
was part of it. And so I've also haven't quite had the you know moving around of jobs a lot either. I'm a very little old fashioned, I guess, just from how I was raised. You kind of go to a place and you just work your way up and that kind of thing, and haven't been quick to jump around. But I've also kind of found where I'm comfortable with too, you know, and so like that to me is important as well as, you know, I've it's the work-life balance that you're going to always struggle with when doing intercollegiate athletics. And to me, I've kind of sided a little bit more of like, hey, I kind of want some personal balance more than rushing to try and get the next thing, or rushing to try and get that next promotion or that next job and only be in a place 2 or 3 years. That's great. That's great for some people. Some people, good for them. Like that's who they are, and there's people that have had a lot of success with that. That's just not me. And so to me, I've just found places that I've been comfortable with, enjoyed it, and then just waited for the right opportunity.
Most definitely. I have to ask, I'm curious, since you're from Alabama, did you ever consider going to the University of Alabama or no?
I actually did. Like it was one of those things where um you kind of weigh the cost benefit analysis of, hey, how much scholarship money do you get here, where you want
Right.
to go. Like but deep down, like Birmingham Southern was where I wanted to go.
You
I
know,
like
yeah.
it was far enough away from home, which was not far,
Mhm.
but you know, close enough that I could, you know, come and go in a day. Needed to go home. Hey, mom, I just didn't do laundry. Can you help? So I had that, but also like I stayed on campus, was on my own, living that way. So like I had that small school feel and life. And so like Birmingham Southern's where I wanted to go. But like I was close to going to Alabama just
Mhm.
because they kind of offered me the opportunity of a couple things from a scholarship standpoint. You know, it was honestly the managerial thing that I got, which kind of really just probably I probably pushed it over the edge where I was like, okay, I don't have to just make this a business decision of dollars and cents. My parents would have killed me if I had just done it for that reason, but they always pushed me to make my choice. It was up to me, like what I wanted to do, how I wanted to go about something. So
And look, it all worked out anyway. You ended up at Alabama ultimately, but you had the
it's one of
convenience of go ahead.
Yeah, to me, I didn't mean to cut your question off, but
No.
it's honestly, I never thought I would be here. Okay, like I never thought I'd be at a big school, you know, like Alabama. I was very, I've always had the like kind of like underdog mentality of
Okay.
that's who I would prefer to root for, and that's who I would prefer to be a part of. And so it's kind of a, you know, a natural fit that I also, my big school experience was at, you know, mighty West Virginia, you know, and I don't regret that for a moment. Like I had a, and I had a pretty sweet experience my little over a year there. You know, it was, you know, some of the Beeline basketball teams that were really good making the tournament. It was the Sugar Bowl, you know, that was
Right.
played in Atlanta. So I got to experience that with football's success with Pat White and Steve Slayton and those that group. So I mean, it's one of those I've always done that. And then my first job was at Rice University in Houston, which is again small, itty bitty. Didn't think I never was going to pursue, wanted to work at a big place like Alabama, but sometimes you never know who's going to give you their name. You know, which somebody gave them my name. They gave me a call. And you know, you do have to take the phone call when Alabama calls. And it was just kind of, I was able to get here, meet the people, and it, you know, changed my expectations, changed what I thought of the place. And so it was an opportunity to come back home too, you know, and starting a family. You know, both my wife and I are from Birmingham, so it's just it made too much sense for us.
Well, I have to say I'm envious too because, like you said, you've had the big school, whether it's West Virginia and now Alabama, but I like the idea that you had the option to go home and have a home cooked meal. I don't have that. I'm from outside of Boston, so I'm 9 hours away from being here. I don't have that luxury.
Yeah, no, that was a struggle for me when I made that move to Morgantown, because there was no one anywhere close to where I was, and the same thing when we lived in Houston. So to be able to um, taste it and realize, you know what, I'm kind of like where I've been. I went through a mild winter, have no desire to go back to having to not drive an Explorer off the side of a mountain. Like that's a thing that I look
Right.
forward to.
Well, I'm curious because even though you haven't bounced around as much as you're saying, you still have been around. I gotta know your professional sports teams because I don't know where Alabama leans on the professional
I'm
side.
all over the place.
Oh, here I want to hear it.
Yeah, so it is. We don't have professional like we've got the minor league
Okay,
teams different in baseball. A couple of the minor league football program, football leagues for some reason keep coming back through here.
I don't know.
So you pick it different ways. Baseball, Braves fan, just because they are the closest one. Me
Hmm.
growing up, they were also on TBS every night, so you always had a chance to watch them. Um, and then my mom was a fan of them, so I jumped on that.
Hmm.
So that's probably the closest tie there. Football's the wildest one. Like
Oh, here we go.
I'm a Dolphins fan.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, a Dolphins fan, and it's this. I love the story because it's like it's makes no sense, but it also does if you think about it. So my
Marino, maybe?
grandmother,
That's my
what's
guess. Sorry.
that?
I was saying Marino. That's my guess.
Ultimately, yes, it's gonna
Okay.
get there. Yeah. So my grandmother knew that I liked football. Like she knew like I was just a big fan, loved watching it. So one Christmas, like she got me one of those like replica uniforms, those
Yeah.
Rydell like replica with the fake helmet and
I know exactly
the
what you're talking about.
jersey and the pants. And the only one that the only one that they sold in Meridian, Mississippi was a Dan Marino one. I didn't know who Dan Marino was. I didn't know, or, I wasn't a fan of the Dolphins at that point. She didn't know. She had no clue. She's like, "Wow, this will work," and so I just became a Dolphins fan that way. And then I think it was at that time they might have also been the closest in the market. So
Mm.
like when CBS would pick up a game, I guess maybe Birmingham would also carry a bunch of Dolphins games too. So like that's how I
Probably.
became a Dolphins fan. Yeah. So yeah. So those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
I don't follow the NBA a whole lot. I might follow our Alabama guys more
Yeah.
than a pick a team. So
I would imagine, especially with you getting to know some of the guys too, I would imagine that's kind of a way you'd steer. I know a lot of professors here too. They're like, I don't have a team. I just like following my students or who I had and
yeah,
that kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm from I'm in Worcester County. It's about 30-40 minutes outside of Boston. I don't know if you've been before, but um, I'm all I'm C's, B's, Celts, Pats. So we play you
yeah,
guys twice a year, which has not been good for the last two or three, but our reign's
I
over with
understand.
the
I
Pats.
understand.
It was fun though growing up. Now it's not so fun, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know that. But yeah, that's interesting. I always like to ask that because I'm curious. Everyone's got such different like takes. Like I'm loyal to mine, but a lot of people like you don't really have that luxury sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. We didn't, and then when we went to Houston, we kind of started following, a bunch of the Houston teams just because
Mhm.
we were there. Our friends, a lot of them were from Houston, so it's just like, we'll jump on the bandwagon for a bit here too. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense. You have a story that makes sense. I've heard some that are just, I mean, I can't even get behind where it's just like every few years you're switching and like they're on the bandwagon. I'm like, I don't even want
yeah,
to. Your opinion
no,
is,
I understand that. Yeah, pick it and ride it. No, but it's funny. Like I didn't. I didn't follow the old parents' footsteps either. Like
Mhm.
my dad was a fan, but I probably like rooted against them more just because of him, in spite of him,
Oh,
than
okay.
jumping and following him too. So it was always a butting of heads in our household.
I was just saying, I like the unorthodox route there. I'll give you a screwball here too. I'm the only loyal one that's all with my dad. My older brother is a Giants fan.
Oh my.
So, oh, I know. I should have like braced you for impact there. But he his godfather is from New York, and we have a lot of uncles from New York, and that's just the
Yeah.
way he steered. And then my younger brother is 49ers, which has been tough. But my grandparents are from San Francisco.
Okay.
So all over the place. My sister doesn't really watch. Um, but yeah, I'm the only one that stayed true. So I understand um the the comparison there.
Yeah, well, it's like I got my mom's from Mississippi. My dad was an army brat that was like born in Brooklyn,
Okay.
raised in Harrisburg, you know, and so like ended up down here. So I'm just this hodgepodge mix of no specific loyalties whatsoever. So
It worked out okay. You could have
yeah,
worse teams to follow. The
fair
Braves
enough.
are damn good too.
It's been fun watching them. You know, it's like but it's that same torment of
I
the
know.
Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz era of like, are they going to get one? So it was like, I'm only going to get one, and then it's another 15 to 20 years of desperation, and so, but we'll ride it while we can.
Listen, I understand your pain. I have a lot of friends from Atlanta, weirdly, and they're saying the same thing. Like it's due, and you know whatever that means, but it should be happening, right?
Yeah, you,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Well, I'll loop it back around, Mr. Dean. I'm curious, being the associate AD of compliance, just what that entails, and I'm curious just what you do nowadays at Alabama.
Yeah, so I mean, the world of compliance, like every day is an adventure. We don't quite know when we roll into the office what it's going to be. And so you just life happens. And so we sometimes in our area get tasked with figuring out the problems of, oh dear God, what's happened? Where do we go from now? And so you know, when we look at that at our place, like we're lucky enough, we're a high profile institution, high profile conference with elite student athlete. We've had our histories in the past of stuff, so you know we're constantly under the microscope. And so you know whenever we tell people that are interviewing here, it's like, hey, if you want to embrace that challenge, you want that, like this is the place for you. But also, you know, understanding everybody's watching what we do, good, bad, indifferent, you know. And so uh from my standpoint, like I help run our day-to-day stuff here with compliance. And so, you know, it's more than just, you know, kind of managing NCAA rules. We try to, which is a big part of it. It's, you know, education, it's monitoring, it's enforcement of SEC, NCAA institutional policies. And so we help, we're helping our institution navigate those. And so for me personally, I help handle our day-to-day running of the office. You know, I
Mhm.
report to a couple people that are, you know, on our senior staff that are dealing with other bigger things. And so we deal with all of that. I oversee a lot of our things that are focused on playing in practice season rules, you know, rules education as well. And then I'm kind of do a lot of, you know, interpretations is going to be a natural part of what we do, helping figure out when coaches have questions, students have questions, where we go. And then, you know, whenever we need to seek a waiver of a rule, or we need to seek, you know, handle a violation when those pop up. You know, that's kind of where I fall into play as well. And then 2 years ago, I kind of added, I help our volleyball program as well. It's kind of like a this new made up position of a kind of like a secondary oversight person, not um, the full sport administrator of the program, but just a second person just because to help in different stuff. So just a little bit of a padding of the resume, but just other areas that I personally do kind of with our compliance staff.
No, that's good to know. That I was just curious because I didn't know exactly what it entailed. And I see your shirt here with the baseball. Do you
Yeah.
work with you know all teams at Alabama? I'm sure you guys have over 20, whatever it is. Or you have specific, I heard you say volleyball, so I didn't know if you had
Yeah,
specific.
so my job, I touch everybody. Like I'll touch everybody, which is a good thing in my opinion. I like the idea of
Yeah.
um, uh, working with all of our sports. They all have unique problems and they all have unique situations. So it's not the same repetitive thing. I predominantly deal a lot with our, men's basketball program and then our Olympic sports. Football is probably the sport I deal with the least of. But football being so big here at our institution, we're all chipping in some fashion to kind of help that machine move forward. So I got the ability to touch all of our coaches, help all of their programs in different ways. And to me, I enjoy that better than just I'm only going to do baseball. I'm only going to do football kind of thing.
Okay, that's helpful. I was just curious because being the institution that you're at, like you said big, but that's an understatement. Obviously, massive um, organizations. So, especially like you said with the football team, I'm curious. Um, Growing up in Alabama, are you going college football or are you going NFL if you had to pick to watch one?
To watch one, I've always leaned towards the college
Okay.
game of it. Like I just enjoy it just a little bit more. So I think that's just where my heart kind of falls a little
Mhm.
bit more. It's like I like the idea that it's a group of individuals playing for their institution, playing to represent their school a little bit more than the professional side of it, and that's got its place. And I'm still a fan of it, but I've always leaned towards that same way with like college basketball. Like I grew up, I loved college basketball. That was like it was a big fan of it. My family had like season tickets to UAB's home basketball games growing up, so we went to all of those. March Madness brackets and
Oh yeah.
watching the tournament, and so like I've always like that's always been just one of the sports that I'll watch any day of the week. Turn a game on. Could be a Mountain West game between Nevada and San Diego State, and I don't know what's going on, but it's still something to watch.
Oh, I'm gonna agree with you now because I always lean more professional. Once I got in to college, it changed for me. Now I have a team. I was always bouncing around, kind of like you were saying, just throwing whatever's on. And we got March Madness in, which is nice. But Mr. Dean, I do have to ask a tough question, which I think I know the answer to, but you know, comes around where this wouldn't really happen, but Alabama's playing West Virginia in anything. Who are you going with?
It's tough because we've done
I
it
know.
since I've been here. There was a game
Was
in
there?
Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, and and so I learned this
Oh,
in my interview. I'm not 12, so I have to root for the team that pays my paycheck.
it's the right answer.
So, so like I sat there when I heard
Uh-huh.
that comment made to me in the interview process because I asked a very similar question to the person that
Really?
was interviewing me. And so like it was just blunt and to the point. And you root for who you work for. And
Right.
so to me it's always like I will root for Alabama if whoever we're playing, but I will still I follow everywhere I've been. Like I still will watch West Virginia football games whenever I can, basketball games when I can as well. It was awesome seeing how well the baseball program
Oh yeah.
did last year and how good that they've been of late. And so like it's one of those things. It'll never leave me. I'll always be a part just because like I can say, yeah, I actually do have a degree from there. I can use we
Hmm.
when we're talking about supporting them. And so
Yeah.
I always will try and keep following the university as a whole, different coaches that I might have worked with or had a relationship with. Same thing goes with at Rice too. Watching a little bit of a distance, but it's to me it's always you built that relationship. It's always a part of your life, always going to be a fan.
Yeah,
So
I
it's great.
wasn't trying to stump you. I think that's the correct answer,
Yeah.
which I've heard over and over again. I was just talking to an alumni who works for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he grew up right outside of MetLife, and is just a massive Giants fan. And he was like, it pained me to take the job right away. Like I knew it was a good opportunity, but it was just. He was like, I can't believe I'm working working for Philadelphia. But he said the same thing. He was like, okay, I'm turning into an Eagles fan and they pay my paycheck, so I can't
Yeah.
I can't go against it. I was like, that's fair.
Yeah.
This always happens. By the way, Mr. Dean, you see the clock at the top. Uh,
Yes.
Siri's gonna start yelling at me, but in about like 5 minutes, I just have to cancel it out, and I'm gonna send you an email to a new link. Um,
Okay.
because it doesn't let me go more than 40 minutes. I guess the university was supposed to pay for like Zoom Plus or whatever, and never did. So I just have
No,
to,
I understand.
I'll have to leave
I
out.
get
But
you. No worries.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, one more question, at least before this thing time's up. And I'm curious, you were on campus, right, when you were doing your graduate degree here?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. I'm curious what resources you utilize when you're here, because kind of like you said, you found sport management and were like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. It was kind of like me, I just didn't even know. But we have a great program for it. So when you were here, what uh, did you feel worked for you and helped you in the professional world now?
To me, it was the people that I came into the class with, like the group that I had. I that to me was the biggest bonding experience and like being able to have that group of people.
Mm,
I'm gonna be honest, the history of sport class didn't it hasn't helped me a whole lot, but I understand why you had to take it. But
sure.
working, doing the program with those people created relationships that carry with me today. Like uh, three people were in my wedding that were from that program.
Wow.
I've been in their weddings. Still in touch with them today. To me, the internship was a huge component of learning things. I was lucky enough when I got there wasn't a GA position available, but one became open. And
Mhm.
so I was able to get in and plugged in, and they put me to work and gave me responsibilities. Now, my workstation did not have internet access in the Coliseum at the time.
Wow.
So I had to like jump to a station if I would like to get to the internet. But it was a different time. We still use
Yeah.
fax machines a good bit, and so we made it work. To me, it was those two big things, and then the Dr. Branch, trying to make the network of people that you touched and reached out to stay in connection huge. Like that's the only reason I ever found out about the program to begin with, is there was an alum who talked about it, spoke highly of it, and there you go. And so like that opportunity to me was super helpful, because sometimes in the world of sports, it's the old cliche of it's not always what you know, but who you know.
Mhm.
And to me, that gave me a lot of the opportunities is the relationships I built, and the opportunity to be a part of that athletic department gave me a chance. Opened a door for me, gave me an opportunity that I'll forever be grateful for. And like I wouldn't change my decision for the world. Like to me, that was one of the best experiences like I've ever had. Like even more than I thought going up there. I thought it was just going to be very transactional. Okay, take these
Yep.
classes, do that. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm gone. And it's still a part of my life. Every day. And so it's like whether it's I'm talking to the friends that I developed, or coworkers in the area that I formed. Like to me, it's the people that I was able to meet, the people that I was able to be associated with, um, is where I learned the most.
That's amazing. And kind of like you said, I do feel like I hear time and time again, especially in the sports industry, which again, very new to me, just getting the foot in the door, but it's who you know, not what you know, kind of like you just said. Um, Whether it's from college or along the way. but I do hear that quite often that, like you said, you went in expecting nothing, and look, you met three people that were in your wedding. Like how crazy is that?
Yeah, I mean, you never thought of it, and then it's
Right.
like I've got lifelong friends that I still keep up with, and talked to one of them last week, and so
Mhm.
to me, it's a that's what's been, looking back on, the best part of it is who I met there. The classes, they I understand why we take them, understand what they do. I got some things out of it, some things, but to me, it was the experience of being there, being a part of it, being a part of a group, having to figure out problems, life, and that's helped me more than you know writing a research paper on something.
I would agree. That's amazing. It's good to know because I'm still in the seat of where you were, just getting by. So it's good to know, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, I was always the kid sitting in a corner by himself, worried about getting A's and B's, and like that takes you so far. But it's also trying to learn more than just what's in the textbook. And it's, to me, the classes taught you, we did a lot of projects together. We did a lot of things in those classes with that group of people where we were around each other a bunch. And so that was the thing that I learned. It's learn how to work with people as opposed to necessarily what that particular project for the class was. It's learning who you're with, how to work with different personalities. We in our small group, we had that. Some people we got along with, some people we butted heads with, but in the end, we were still on the same team. We were still supporting each other, and I left there with, people that I still stay in touch with. And, I think that was a training ground for life too, because that's like any job that you go to, any job that you want to be a part of is you're not always going to see eye to eye on things. And there's competition, and there's things that you butt heads with, but you're still working in the same direction, still trying to accomplish the ultimate goal, whether it's a class project or get a team to a postseason tournament. So like that to me is what I appreciated and learned is how to deal with life.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Sorry that took a second.
No worries. Is someone has to do this a handful of times. I get it. I understand.
I, I really got to invest in premium or something. And I don't, it's not, listen, the college budget is not, it's slim to none. So I don't know if I can invest yet, but maybe in the future.
I get you. I understand. No worries. No
Yeah.
worries at all.
Well, I promise I won't take up too much more of your time. I just had a few more
Okay.
for you. I was curious. I wanted to ask, we talked a little bit about football and baseball. What'd you play growing up? High school, maybe a little after high school?
Uh, Baseball is the sport I played most growing up. I played that sport all the way through high school, and that was the one sport I played. I did a couple of years of Y basketball, but that was really it. Like I said, my parents weren't. I mean, they weren't from Birmingham, so they didn't know a whole lot of things. They basically just
Mm.
knew, you played baseball growing up. So it's like I didn't play soccer or anything like that. It's one of those. Baseball was really just it for me.
What's Birmingham like through and through? Is it football? I mean, I would think so, but
It's different. It kind of just depends. Birmingham's a unique city, like it really can depend on what part of the city you're in and where you're at, which might become more popular. Soccer has really blown up in the city.
really,
Especially like there's, like when I was growing up, I didn't know where you could go play soccer, and now there's, six different, youth leagues just within the city that can kind of form its own little high level bits, like groups and teams that can go play. So that's been big. Football is always going to be big,
right?
for the area. It's just an important part of the community. Basketball is still important as well. So we've seen that. I think we've actually seen a little bit of a growth in like lacrosse
Mm,
in different parts of our city. Like it's not huge down here at all, but I think it's one sport that's actually gaining popularity,
mm.
and I wouldn't be surprised that it doesn't become a little bit more popular here. I think it's just kind of can kind of fit kind of as a different option to playing football for some folks too. So I think those are good. I think volleyball is an up and coming sport,
Yeah,
in our area. It's gaining, across the country. We're not near where it is in popularity in like the Midwest and everything.
yeah.
Basketball still dominates and trumps it from popularity standpoint. But I think it's another sport that's people realize, hey, this is actually pretty fun and enjoyable to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say soccer, I would not have guessed. I was going to follow up and ask about lacrosse because being from the East Coast, lacrosse and hockey are, very much a thing where I'm from. I played lacrosse. My mom would let me play hockey. Um, she wouldn't. She was like, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Um, and same with football. She let me play football. So I was a big golfer actually. Um, I played all 4 years in high school.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
that was kind of my thing. Basketball, like you said, here and there, a little bit in high school. But no golf. You get out on the course at all or no?
I got when I picked up the game when I went to West Virginia, and like we
Mm.
had a handful of people that were big in it. I just said no, I want nothing to do with it. I didn't pick it up. We went there. Somebody went to a driving range with some of our classmates. Like, oh, it's actually pretty fun. And so, I we got to where we played a good little bit up there
That's awesome.
at different places. Is it Paradise Lakes? Is that
Well, I was
still?
gonna say I was gonna guess Mountain View or Mountaineer are cheap and like the college kids, what's like where we go. But
Yeah,
I think it's Lakeview. Is that what you said?
I thought it was like Paradise Lakes or something. It's like a 9-hole course, maybe.
I mean, I it sounds so familiar, but I don't believe I've played there. I've only ever played Mountain View and Mountaineer because it's like 25 to 30 bucks a round. So
Right. Yeah.
it's tough to beat
Yeah.
that.
Like, yeah. It's one of those like I wish I had started earlier. Like I wish
Mhm.
like my dad had tried to get me lessons, and I was just like, I don't want to do this, and like I regret it. But I have not been able to play a bunch lately. Once kids came in the picture, it just became a little bit difficult at the moment. But maybe one day I can pick up losing some more golf balls.
I, me too. I was saying, well, it's starting to get warm, so maybe you got to sneak out and play like a quick nine, um, while you have the time.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll loop back around. I'm curious. I saw that you worked for the Pittsburgh Pirates for a little bit, or did that marketing project.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to dive a little into that because we have a great relationship with the Pirates because they're constantly asking for interns. They love supporting West Virginia just as a whole. So it was cool that I saw that you worked for them. I just want to hear a little bit about.
Well, it was all it was really just a project for one of our classes. So we had, I don't even know if it's still a class anymore. It was a class called the ESPN Sports. And this was a Dr. Branch type special of somehow he'd created some program where the entire class was centered around the ESPN Sports poll, and just kind of even before the early stages of marketing data and research and all of that. And so it was purely driven there, and we had to basically the entire class resolved around different projects with the Pirates and trying to create a marketing presentation that they would hopefully buy into, which there did not. Their agreement was allowing us to come and take their time. So it's still one of those things where like stepping back and looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know what we were doing. I don't think we fully knew what we were doing. It was diving into like all these little pieces of data in this like clunky format that was, you know, looking at it today, it would be so much easier to use to try and manipulate it, but the kind of technology just wasn't there to easily do it. So it was like trying to come up with that, make it work, parameters. So that's really what we did. It wasn't necessarily like the a day-to-day type internship. It
Okay.
was we had this presentation where they allowed us to come and talk with them and take up some of their day. And so yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
what we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious because I just didn't know what it was exactly. But I don't know if that class is still a thing. I shook my head. I don't think so because I feel like I would have seen it by now or been offered the course. It
Yeah,
might have
like we didn't have like it's one of those like it was a set part of the curriculum. You didn't really have a choice. You
really.
had yeah, I mean we didn't have I don't know how many offerings you and options you have, but it was
So
pretty set. Like you're just taking this there and that's
what was
it.
it called?
This is called the ESPN Sports Poll.
Sport. I'll tell you, you would be in awe of how many options you have now for classes. Yes, you have your same gen eds and what you have to take, but
Mhm.
especially with sport management, I mean, there's a lot you can take now, which is nice because it's you kind of can go which way you want to go. But you would be
Yeah,
like, wow, it's overwhelming almost how much like options you have.
that's awesome. I mean, it's always good. Like
Yeah.
I think it's one of those like people didn't know that it existed, and now that you do, like it's there, it's a legitimate thing, a legitimate areas to study, legitimate things to explore, and so now it's more areas for research, more all of that's available for folks. I think that's fantastic to hear that there's options to know and explore the different sides of stuff.
Yeah, you'd be happy to know too. I think we're around 400 or 500 students under sport management, which is like the highest it's been, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's around that because we do like a yearly checkup kind of thing. But I mean, it's still obviously smaller compared to like engineering or something else. But
Mhm.
it's nice to have like a little community because you know all the professors. I'm sure you remember, you know, most of the students because you're all in the same classes anyway.
Yeah.
Um, I like it though because I like having the personal connections with my professors and students as well. So um, that's why I enjoyed it. I don't know if you had a similar experience, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed all the professors that we had. They made you feel welcome. As a part of what they were doing, and it tried to open you up to different things. And so, like, I enjoyed sitting in the classes. I enjoyed learning some stuff. I got in the graduate program. We had a couple classes that were research head driven. Like you had to learn how to legitimately write a research paper that's data driven and it's not just a term paper in a lower level history class, and so
right.
it was a unique more of the academic side of it too. So I mean I think that was something that didn't think existed. But yeah, no, people have been learning and studying different aspects of sport for a long time, and there's now more real world application of being able to get into that field.
I would agree. I definitely can relate in that sense, but it's cool to know it's happened before, and then now it's only just growing. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Lastly, so that's all I have left for you is just if you could spread some wisdom for entry level candidates like myself trying to just get into the industry. I know it's a bit of a broad question, but just maybe things that have worked for you. I know you've moved around industries and similar like that, but just curious on some advice you may have.
I think to me is get out there and experience some things and be involved. There's different ways that you can be involved to help, whether it's an athletic department, minor league team. Try to find ways to do that. Try and find something that's going to make you unique. when somebody pulls out a resume, whether it's a story, whether it's an organization that you were a part of, a leadership position that you had, something that like makes you a unique candidate as opposed to like, okay, here's another with the same exact repetitive thing. I think that to me, when we go through the hiring process, it's like, okay, like I've seen their history, I can understand that. What's going to make me want to pick up the phone and call that person?
Mm.
I'd encourage building relationships with not only your classmates that you have currently, because you don't know, they might even be able to help you find a job. That's how I got my first job. Was one of our classmates. She got a job for some unrelated reason at Rice because of a coach she knew at West Virginia and worked for, and
Wow.
then she gave them my name, and like, and so sometimes it's little things like that, and don't forget to you know like get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like that's something that's always been difficult for me, and that's building those relationships with what other area you're working with, what other party you're trying to chip in and help. And then like don't be afraid to do any job,
Mm.
like big or small, and even if it's not in your job description, like everybody's a compliance officer, but also everybody helps with game day management, and everybody helps with promotions and marketing, and it's just trying to build that network of people that you can, like, maybe they don't know something, but maybe they'll hear or they get something through the grapevine and can pass it along to you to get you a word, because you never know when it's that one little thing in the back of your head of like, no, that dude went the extra mile, and I knew he would, he's willing to do any job, as opposed to he big time me, and when that kind of thing. So like, to me, I think it's, remember, we all started somewhere. We all needed a chance. We all needed a break. And so just taking advantage of who you develop a relationship with, and not being shy to go out and touch base. And you'd be surprised how many people will open up and say, yeah, no, I'll give you the time of day a little bit, and I think that's one thing that Dr. Branch, when we were coming through, was harped on us and made us continually do. It's like, we used to do the old alumni guide. I don't even know if
Ooh,
that's still done anymore.
I don't know what
Uh,
that is.
yeah, I mean, it was an old, it was basically each class put out an alumni directory every year,
Oh,
and I think
yeah.
I think classes bought an advertisement, but you also saw people in where they were, where they're at in different spots to keep up. It's like, hey, when it came internship time, I'm interested in, marketing. Well, here's 35 people that do marketing. Maybe I can send my resume blindly to them and say I'm a part of West Virginia, and
Yeah.
lo and behold, like, somebody may take a chance on you. That's something that we did as a kind of program thing that I don't remember. I haven't seen in a long time.
We
Uh,
well, one, I just want to say thank you for that advice. That's not, I mean, I'm glad I got to hear it, and now other students will as well. But the what's called directory, is that what you're saying? Is recently started up again. We made one last year. COVID like chopped it. It was hard with the,
yeah,
yeah, I think it was hard with people being online and whatever not. So now it's back in full effect. So maybe you'll be seeing it a little more.
okay.
Or maybe you'll get some blind resumes or something.
I mean, it's part of it. You just, but like, again, like, if I'm sitting there looking to hire a job, and like I see, oh, this person went to West Virginia, like, I'm just naturally by default, like, I might just slide that one in the, let's just make a call and see what happens, and so like, it's, you try and take care of your own sometimes as well. And I think that's like, it can help. It's to be open to kind of make yourself vulnerable to talk to people or reach out, or just put it there. It may fall on deaf ears. You may not hear back from it, and that's part of the challenge of it as well. But you also never know who may, go to bat for you.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Dean, I want to thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. Again, sorry the communication beforehand didn't work out, but I'm glad we did it. I had a really great time.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm happy to help. It was totally my fault as, I got myself locked out of the social media account and it's like, I'll figure the password out.
No,
That's from what I
I'm
did.
not great on LinkedIn either, so I was like, I haven't even checked on it in a while, just seeing if he's there. But no, so I'm gonna be emailing you because we're gonna start posting content, whether it's next week or the week following on you. I would love if you could send me some pictures just from your experiences wherever, whether it was at West Virginia or Alabama, if you have any. If not, that's okay.
Okay.
But that's just so we can post. Initially, and then I'll use the clips from here and whatnot. But I'll keep you updated. I'll be emailing you.
Okay.
Not
All
too
right.
much. I won't blow up your inbox, but just once or twice.
No, no, no worries. I'll see if I can pull out the old box digital cameras. They can still plug in and see if I can find something.
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. That's what I'm looking for.
All right.
Well, if you're ever in Morgantown again, I'd love to meet you and shake your hand in person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if there's anything that I can do, please let me know. It's just an email away and happy
Awesome.
to help any way I can.
Yes, thank you for your time. I really enjoyed it. So we'll be in contact. But
Okay.
um, yes, have a great rest of your day, Mr. Dean.
All
This was
right.
awesome.
You as well. Okay.
Awesome. Cheers.